don't say it.
Yeah, fuck it.
Are we live? Oh my God, we're on.
Yeah, we're live.
Helen nearly said "Happy Easter" without an audience, which is like not saying it all at all. I mean, who cares?
Yes.
Hello, everybody.
Happy Easter. Happy Easter, everyone.
Happy Passover and Easter and all of that jazz.
You may be able to hear Norwich rocking in the background. It's going crazy here.
Wow.
Last night we passed by a place near us, and there was a Freddie Mercury impersonator, but somehow he made the teeth look really frightening, and he was just kind of doing the same movement like that at a window. It was one of the most frightening things I've ever seen. It was like something from a dream. It was like something from a terrible dream. A church with Freddie Mercury inside it.
Very David Lynch on crack.
Yeah, so I'm just kind of chilling out. But it's been I don't know, it's been such a funny day. There's a few things I'd like to speak about. But the main one is the Metro piece. Have you seen the Metro piece?
No,
Yes.
You mentioned it in our group chat, and I was like, because I'm different time zone, I haven't read it yet. Tell me all about it. This is new to me.
Well, it's this. Let me see if I can get the name of the person who wrote it.
I think my description of it is just like that tweet that you find on people's timelines, which says, "Oh, the TERFs have found me, and they're abusing me just for standing up for trans rights."
Yeah.
After
Exactly.
they've spent about a week extensively engaging with women and calling them Nazis, bigots, and haters.
Yeah. This is what it basically should be called. I suggest I gave Molly has drawn this up, has written this up, but it should be called "Why Can't I Abuse Women in Peace?"
Yes.
It's like I just told a domestic abuse survivor that she was weaponizing her trauma, and for some reason I got all this pushback. It's like,
It's that. Oh, they piled on me. It's a coordinated pile-on, but it's also just bots.
It's getting. So in the UK, you cannot abuse a beloved children's author without encountering some kind of resistance. That's the thing. It is insane. Yes. It's an insane piece. And guess what? What would you say the sex of the person who wrote it is, Arnie? Male or female?
There's no such thing as biological sex anymore.
That's a nice swear. That's a nice swear. He just didn't want to say it. Of course it's a woman. And she joined. Like, I saw this the other day. Perhaps someone in the comments could tell us who this was. But there was a brilliant thing the other day where this woman was two women were on a news show. Helen, do you know what I'm about to talk about? No, you're in another world. She's getting on. There were two women in the news show, and one of them said, "I wouldn't vote for Keir Starmer because he doesn't know what a woman is."
Wow.
It was Jeremy Vine. Jeremy Vine, man.
Jeremy Vine.
Yeah,
Who is the woman who went, "Oh, why are we talking about this nonsense?" It's like one of the things from the playbook is to pretend that the subject matter is so niche that why would anyone even bring it up? And this is again a woman saying this.
And they're going to call us transphobes, but they're so phobic they can't talk about it. Can you believe that?
I know, yeah,
if you care about trans issues, then you fucking talk about them and take them seriously. But when we do, they're like, "Oh, we can't talk about this. I'm frightened." It's well, I think you're the one with the phobia here, not us.
It was also the same thing, saying, "Oh, it's the right wing press. They just want you to believe this. They want you to think. They want us to be distracted." And I've been thinking about this. Like, women aren't even allowed to center themselves in a movement where we're pushing back against something. We're pushing back against something, and we're told, "Oh, no. Like, I know you've been talking about it for years, but actually it's the right wing. They want you to believe this. It's them pulling your strings." Like, I mean, I guess it's no surprise, is it, if in a movement that really refuses to center women full stop, they're not going to center women in their own pushback, are they? They're just going to say, no, you're the puppet masters are men.
It's not so much that I find so interesting. With the Metro woman, what I find so interesting is you know, she's genuinely saying this. She's genuinely saying that she abused a domestic violence survivor by, you know, I'm saying to a woman, you're weaponizing your abuse to a domestic abuse survivor is abuse, right? That's what it is. So this woman was literally saying, I abused this domestic violence survivor, and I got a lot of angry pushback, as if like, to publicly do something like that. Imagine if you're walking down the street and you saw someone slapping someone in the face, and you're saying, you're weaponizing you're weaponizing your abuse. You know what I mean? And she's going, help, you know?
There's so much like self-fulfilling stuff going on in this movement. Like you're committing an act of abuse, and then you're complaining that that you didn't ask for it. Like that suddenly you're getting pushback. Like Helen's saying, women are standing up for their rights because their rights are being taken away, and then they're being told like it's self-fulfilling, because the more women's rights get taken away, the more women have a right to stand up and demand their rights and speak up for themselves. And then people turn around and say, what are you doing? How dare you do this? And it's like, it's a self-fulfilling thing, you know? I could have put that better, but you know what I mean? It's like all these things that people say aren't happening, justify them, you know? Yeah.
But it's not just that self-fulfilling. Literally, this happened on a thread that I saw, I think it was yesterday or the day before. Some chap saying afterwards, and you know, he wrote something inflammatory, he got pushback, and then he's saying, you see, I was right all along.
I know that guy. Yeah, he was the guy. He was the guy who wrote a piece about men cheating in women's sports, and in the tweet about it said there's a lot of hysterics around this subject. You know, they just can't. They always.
Where's the nuance?
They give themselves away. They give themselves away with every breath, because they use words like hysterics. They use words like, I was thinking about this the other day. Arnie, I was telling you about it, but like there's a thing they do, which is, I mean, we've seen all the attacks. There's certain things. Your entire timeline is devoted to this. You know, you're obsessed. It's strange of you. You keep mentioning the word penis, Helen. What's up with that? You know, all of these fucking things to make it sound like you're the one calling for an end to self. You're the one calling for an end to single-sex services. Like you're the one calling for all these extreme things. Like you're the one calling for children to be medicalized and abused, basically abused by people who are experimenting on them.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is just the way society's going, so you should just go with it. And if you speak up and try to stop it, you're some kind of weirdo. It's
like, shut up. It's like we're all being held hostage, and someone's going to kill us if we speak out of line.
Yeah,
and the others are going,
remember?
They're going to kill us. Shut up.
I don't know if we're supposed to talk about this on the show, but you mentioned there was an American comedian who said something like, "Oh, the kids are they're just having a lark kind of thing. Leave them alone."
Yeah, that was Michael Ian Black. Yeah,
Black. Yeah,
he said that early on when I spoke about binders. I this is now. I still can't believe this is like 6 years ago. Nearly, I started talking about this stuff. And I feel exactly the same way I do about it now as I did then.
Yeah. You know? Yes, absolutely.
And I said to him, thinking, and this was one of those early moments when I realized things weren't going to go my way. But I said to him, this is Michael Ian Black. Please send this to Michael Ian Black and ask him to justify this.
Yeah, remember when teenage girls were having their tits removed and you were like, this is great, you know,
exactly. So this expression of self-hatred, which is a binder, you know, this terrible mutilation that kids are doing to themselves, encouraged not only by their peers who know shit, by fucking, you know, who the hell knows online, but also by organizations like Stonewall. You know, like they're putting binders down to press their breasts to their chest in the same way that they do breast ironing in African countries that haven't developed. And we've had people like, you know, Owen Jones and all these people cheering this movement on all this time. Like it's 6 years later. So anyway, when I said it to Michael Ian Black, he said to me, Graham, the kids are working something out. It's like, yeah, they're working out their breasts.
Well, this is a great
them.
Yeah, this is a great segue to, I've never been a fan of Ross Douthat. He's an op-ed columnist for the New York Times. He's part of their right-wing stable.
Yeah.
But he wrote an extraordinary piece about the issue, so this issue about the problems, the internecine fighting within the LGBTQ. And he framed it so well. He said, okay, something like 20% of young people in the United States are identifying as LGBTQ now. That's an astonishing number. You know, when historically it was less than 3%, now it's 20%. What's going on? Obviously, the answer is the T and the Q.
Yeah,
but
and the S. Which is,
and
which is often the T and the Q, straight people.
Right, straight people. But he says there's three ways that you can react to this. The first way is to say this is great, it's fantastic. The more the merrier, because these people were they were always queer in the first place, and now they can express themselves freely, and we should encourage more of this. That's one way for people to react. The Owen Joneses of the world. The second way is to say, okay, well, this is probably just young people experimenting with things. They might try, you know, experiment with their wardrobes. They might date someone of the same sex for a little while, but they're going to settle into heterosexual relationships by and large. We know this. So it's fine. The kids are just working something out. This is the Michael Ian Black. And then the third one is, I know.
Okay.
And then the third one is like, okay, there's something wrong here because they're not just experimenting. They're being led. They're being encouraged by the medical industry and by social media to go into this. And then it's permanent medical intervention that is a threat to these people. So you have to put a stop to this. So he points out all these three different pathways. And he says, obviously, the right one is that there's something wrong here. It's not great. This isn't a great celebration because we're permanently medicalizing young people at an astonishing rate. But the people we need to address are the people in the middle. Because the woo, rah, rah, Owen Joneses of the world are not going to change their minds. They're set in their ways, and they attack everyone else and call everyone else violent. It's the people in the middle who think that the kids are just working something out, that we have to remind them that this is a medical emergency. You know?
Exactly. And the mental health kind of situation in a number of years. I mean, we have Helena spoke about this, who I must post her brilliant piece on detransitioning, but Helena was saying, you know, the effect that it's going to have on a generation of kids who realized they were being lied to by adults.
Yeah.
That adults said to them, "Oh yeah, no, this is what you need. You need to cut off your breasts. You need to, you need to get an inverted vagina. This will make you happy." Like these people are going to. Yeah, sorry, Helen, go on.
No, it's just, I mean, I agree with everything you're saying. And I wanted to add, it's the deliberate lying that gets me. What's his name? Turban, just tweeting the other day, Jack Turban, saying puberty blockers are completely safe and fully reversible. Yeah. And you're like, we know this isn't true. How can it possibly be true? Because time marches on, doesn't it? You know, your body does change. Even if you've halted puberty, you're still growing. Time is moving on. If you take puberty blockers from, say, I don't know, 10 or 12 until you're 17, it's not just going to start again. The chances of it starting again and just sort of carrying on as if you've lost those 4 years, I mean, I think that's a pretty bold claim.
Well, it's a really nasty claim because it's not true. I mean, in a strict, narrow technical sense, you could try to argue that it's true in that puberty blockers aren't the same as getting a sex change. They're just the first step towards getting a sex change. But that's just it. When you're being put on puberty blockers, it's because puberty is the thing that cures you of dysphoria, and they don't want you to be cured of your dysphoria.
But even
and second of all, that's just a setup to get you on cross-sex hormones and to get you into a surgical sex change. Even more than that.
Even if they did come off puberty blockers, even if they did, which again, you know, as we all know, like we know because we have the evidence that you just continue on to cross-sex hormones. But even if you did, this lie that it's a pause button, you know, maybe if you took it for 2 days, it might be a pause button. But you take it for 5 or 6 years, you know, what are the chances of you then just carrying on as normal? Like you don't. And then I read just a tweet today from a mother saying that her child had been put on her son had been put on puberty blockers from the age of 9. I mean, it may have been for precocious puberty. I don't know. But now he's 24 and he has got the bones of a 75-year-old. He's full of osteoporosis.
Yeah, they're getting hip replacements. And it's children who are like 23 years old who should be in the prime of their lives racing and running marathons and just being the most athletic people in the world they're in walkers.
They're getting hip replacements. That's what I saw. Helen, I was driving in Norwich, and I turned the corner, and I saw, and you may remember also in Scotland, the Meatloaf monster guy with the walker. Do you remember him?
Oh yeah,
Witch, and he had a walker, had a fucking walker, and I saw another male with a walker crossing the road in Norwich, and I was thinking, is this some sort of scam? Are they all pretending to be disabled?
It's insurance
but they're getting fucking hip replacements. Is that what it is?
Maybe it's because they've been
I
on
don't know.
puberty blockers. Wow.
I don't know, because the puberty blockers thing's only been going on for what, maybe a decade, really pushed over the last 7 years, isn't it?
New,
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, you might be right.
But you see, but my point, it's style. It's a fucking style. It's almost like
there's a lot of it. But the other thing that I wanted to say is, like, if you truly believed in your own movement, in what you were pushing, why would you lie? Why would you have to lie? Why would you have to try and obscure what's happening? Why would you have to use euphemisms like sort of top surgery instead of mastectomy? Why would you have to sort of gloss over it? Like, if you really, really, really believed in what you were pushing, you wouldn't need to do that. In fact, you would be quite upfront and honest. You would tell the truth, because you would still believe that despite all of the harms, that it was righteous. But people don't. They don't. They don't.
Also,
they are obscuring everything. They're they're hiding. They're hiding. Why are you hiding? You're ashamed of your position.
Yeah, they are ashamed. It's a movement that's deeply ashamed of itself. This is a movement that
it is.
We're trying to be heard. They're trying not to be heard. We always knew there was such a strange thing that, like, you never see them defending themselves on TV programs. They only send up useful idiots like that woman who was calling the other woman stupid or silly because she was interested in women's rights. Does anyone remember the name of the other person on that? I'd like to name and shame. I'd like to praise the woman who was standing up for women. Thank you, Helen.
But I would. I'd also like to say, what was Jeremy Vine's tweet saying? Oh, well, I never expected people not to vote for Keir Starmer because he couldn't define what a woman is. And everyone's like, where the hell have you been, for Christ's sake? I never expected this. Sort of not looking at the news for the last decade.
I'm going to give some inside skinny on Jeremy Vine. I know where Jeremy Vine is on this.
Oh, really?
Oh, is he not being honest about?
He's not being honest, no, because Jeremy Vine's kids are the ones who are telling him that he can't think a certain way. He admitted it to one guest who was on the program. He said, "I'm with you. It's just my kids don't they won't even let J.K. Rowling books in the house."
Oh my God, it's like Children of the Corn, Children of the Trans.
And instead of saying, no, we won't have J.K. Rowling books in the house. Exactly. Or you will be going to bed at the right time.
Yeah.
Like, oh, okay, all right, kids.
One of the reasons this whole thing has been caused is because of helicopter parents who want to be friends with their kids and don't want to be their parents, right? Absolutely, you should be fucking nailing them to the thing and saying, why don't you want J.K. Rowling books in the house? What did she say that you disagreed with? But the kids can't, because I've heard this from so many people that, and we've seen it amongst our friends and stuff who believe in all this stuff, is that they shut down. They cannot talk about it. They cannot talk about it because the incoherencies of it and the contradictions of it hurt them, and they actually think that it's you causing the pain.
That's right.
And it's like, no. Believe me, you're holding two things in your head that don't make sense.
Cognitive dissonance is physically painful. Like, you can literally alleviate some of it with paracetamol. I'm not even joking. It's a physical pain. Yeah. Mental stress can be alleviated with physical pain.
The pharmaceutical industry wins again.
But I mean, they're scared of the cognitive dissonance. They're scared of being shown that they're wrong because it causes actual, it's the same brain mechanism as putting your hand on a fire,
It's and we've always pointed this out. We know what's going on. Like, the people of my generation, don't know why I said it like that. The people of my generation The people of my generation,
okay, boomer,
are the people. They've grown up guilty because of climate change. They've grown up guilty because of economic. Because they're you know, these are the first kind of generation that's not going to be as well off as their parents. All this sort of stuff, and so as a result, they think, well, I'll just let them sit in front of YouTube for 17 hours a day and learn the facts of life from there. You know, and it's like, yeah, kind of. Like maybe half an hour is more like it, you know. It's just like, and you know, we know as well that these lines that we've heard over the last 6 years, you're debating our right to exist, no debate, you're saying that about all trans people, you're weaponizing your trauma,
you believe all trans people are sexual predators.
You believe all this, you believe that, you're obsessed with penises, whatever it happens to be. Sorry, that was for you, Artie, because you're a gay man. But do you know what I mean? It's but it's like the same playbook over.
Yeah.
Over. It's the same playbook.
I'm not even allowed that.
Even you can't even own a love of penises. Nothing left for women. Nothing left for women at all. But do you know what I mean?
We're taking your dicks.
But like but one thing I really hope to do. One thing I really hope to do over the next few years.
It's Easter Sunday.
He is risen. He is risen. But like the thing I want to do over the next few years, and I'm going to make it my mission in life to do this, is I'm going to show people how they were tricked and how they were fooled. I'm going to show them, because show don't tell. That's what you have to do. Oh shit! Yeah. My battery's about to run out, so I might disappear and come back. But like, you know, like that's my mission in life, because we've all been taken for a ride by various different people. You know, I like one thing I've noticed. I went back to my old Twitter account and I looked at all the people I used to follow. They're still talking about the same thing they talked about 6 years ago. They still have exactly the same people they admire. I see jokes like Michael McIntyre will have a gig coming up, and the tweet will be like, you know, kill me now or whatever. And it's like, what? You're still fucking infuriated by Michael McIntyre? Do you know what I mean? You know, young girls are cutting their breasts off. Do you know what I mean? Do you want to maybe get with the times? But like, they're all kind of they're all kind of held in aspect. You know,
I think things are changing. I think things are moving on. I mean,
not for the people I used to follow. Not for the people I used to follow.
No, but people are. You know. No, they're gonna, like, at some point. You know, people are desperately trying not to allow things to move on. I saw a tweet today from somebody on that side saying, "Oh, all of these TERFs are going to be so embarrassed. They're all going to be deleting their accounts because it's going to be so embarrassing to have had this position in a few years. You know, when we've won." And it is just that, and it's just that hubris, isn't it? It's that sort of Stonewall law. You know, Stonewall has set the scene here in the fake it till you make it way. And you know, Stonewall's done quite well on it. You know, the whole this is what the law is.
Yeah.
But I do see, you know, quite a lot. It's quite a lot of this is going on. You know, you're going to be so embarrassed. It's all so terrible, because they've seen, like, there are so many more people. I was thinking about this the other day. You know, when I first started here, there was Sarah Ditum, Julie Bindel. Like, I could name everyone. Everyone followed each other. Well, all right, I followed everyone, and some people followed me. But you could kind of name everyone who was around. Oh, Graham's gone. You could kind of name everyone that was around. You kind of knew them, and you sort of all chatted. But now there are literally thousands, like hundreds of thousands of people who have become aware of this. It's really changing. You know, I think the floodgates have opened because it's being talked about. Like, the massive problem that we always had was that it wasn't being talked about. No one was taking any notice. It was no debate, all silencing. The newspapers weren't picking it up. Nothing was being talked about on TV. You know, for years we've wanted people in sort of hustings and journalists to ask politicians about this, and they've not been doing it. But now they are.
Now they have to. And it's women in the UK doing this. And it's starting to affect the United States too. Corinna Cohn had an op-ed piece in the Washington Post last week. Did you guys see that? Corinna Cohn, of course, had a gender reassignment, sex change surgery at 19 years old. Corinna Cohn was a homosexual male, is a homosexual male. And the piece was really, really extraordinary. I think it was really, really great. And that's a huge boon. So the New York Times and the Washington Post both had really important editorial pieces about this issue in the past week. It's really, really picking up. It's great. But I'm excited for the Great Silence, which is, you know, I used to be obsessed with like New York media.
I already know what this is. Go on.
Yeah, like all the people who called Jesse Singal a transphobic bigot and egged him on, all the New York media insiders who are all just kissing each other's asses, the Gawkerites. Now they're all just kind of looking down and going quiet because, you know, oops, turns out Jesse Singal was a journalist doing his job. You know, he fucked up on the Graham Linehan front, obviously. But, you know, on the broader issue, he was right. And everybody's just looking down and going quiet, you know, instead of saying, I fucked up, you know, I was on the wrong side of history. They're not going to say that. What they're going to do is just kind of like pretend it never happened, you know?
Yeah. Well, luckily, I'm still following my Twitter account. I'm hoping when it comes back, I'm still following everyone I used to follow. And I'm going to say to every single one of them, where the fuck were you over the last few years? Why weren't you doing something about young kids getting double mastectomies and taking drugs that put them into menopause 30 years early? Where, you know,
and middle-aged straight guys marching, whipping their penises out in women's spaces. Why didn't you do anything about that?
But there's a big difference now, isn't there, between this time and other times? You know, like it was much easier to sort of sweep things under the carpet and pretend maybe you were on a different side because there was no receipts. But we've got receipts. We've got receipts. You know, people will be doing dirty deletes, but we've got screenshots. Screenshots are forever.
This is a strange time because everybody's politics shift over time, but they can normally quietly just erase their history. I think about, you know, when Loving v. Virginia happened, something like 75% of Americans didn't believe in interracial marriage. They thought it should be banned by the government. And then Loving v. Virginia happened where, you know, an interracial couple wanted to get married and they sued and it went to the Supreme Court and they won. And then suddenly interracial marriage everybody liked it. Everybody was fine with it. Polling a year later was like, it was the complete reversal. So that means 50% of the American population was outspoken saying they don't believe in something that is obviously reasonable. And then they all did an about face. Well, it's a good thing Facebook and Twitter didn't exist back then because they'd have a lot of deleting to do, you know, and now we live in an era where, I mean, how are we going to have a stable of politicians in the next generation when everybody's got these horrible Twitter timelines where they've all done something horrible?
I think that's okay. Like, I mean, I'm perfectly happy with people saying, well, I didn't believe this, but actually, now that I've seen that it's okay, I'm okay with it.
Well, can I say something to that?
That's perfectly reasonable, isn't it?
Can I say something to that, Helen? Because I've been thinking about this a lot, and I think that, you know, I often mentioned Maya. I was very happy when Maya mentioned the idea of the Truth and Reconciliation process, because I do think that is eventually going to become necessary in this, you know? I mean, as I always say, so many relationships have fallen apart, friends, family, it's been an absolute nightmare. And it's all because of groups like Stonewall, of people like Ruth Hunt and Nancy Kelly. They've absolutely destroyed lives, you know? So there's been, but having said that, as well as that, there have been people who destroyed lives and did terrible things, but they thought they were doing the right thing. They thought they were on the side of the angels. I'd include someone like, I would imagine, that Nicola Coughlan from Derry Girls. I think she just thought she was, you know, protecting vulnerable people, you know? And the truth of it is that the internet has made us all crazy. We you know, I always say this, but I'm dead serious. If I get my Twitter account back, the first thing I'll do is delete everything I did before this fight. Because this fight proved to me that I was being fed a load of shit from various people, from people I trusted, you know, and they turned out to be bullshit artists. And I look at people like Jordan Peterson, and I look at people like Andy No and Brett Weinstein and Heather Heng and all these kind of people, and even Julie, going back to Julie Bindel. I remember Julie Bindel, I was scared of. I thought she had a kind of a glow around her that meant I should stay away. And I realized it was because of gossip, lies, smearing, and kind of dark propaganda, you know, and all of these things. I think I was a victim of it, and I ran with the herd as well. And I think we've all got to admit that we may have fucked up from time to time.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
that's
I think
fine,
that's
isn't
very
it?
strong of you, Graham, to say that. I think it's,
Yes,
it's
me
very
too.
big of you to
Well,
stand
that's
up
why I
and say
said
that
it.
you made a mistake.
Out loud,
the left
on
and for everyone
camera.
here. I think the left really has to wake up and see that we can't just rest on our laurels and assume that we're virtuous, especially in the age of the internet, in the age of fake news, in the age of just information splintering, in the age of social media has really screwed up everything. But particularly, I think the mindset of a progressive person is being used against to the detriment of society now. You know.
Well, I always say that this kind of particular, like I you know, all the Gamergaters who believed in Gamergate will be angry with me. I'm not saying that but let me explain. Let me be very clear what I'm saying. There were, like, Gamergate, I think, had elements that were just like what I was talking about. People who were believing, other people who were believing things that weren't true. But also there were true things mixed up in all the things, and that made it harder to know what was going on, right? People were also being told that a certain group of people want to take away your games, and other people were being told, well, this certain people, you know, it was all just a big hall of mirrors, you know. but definitely at its core, not maybe but at its tactical core, there was a deep misogyny and a deep hatred of women and an urge to drive women offline, right? Mm-hmm. I think that what we've just been through is basically just Gamergate reskinned. We had, you know, we had the anime avatars, which we used to associate with Gamergate, but now we completely associate with this. Do you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. We had all the kind of lolicon, whatever it's called, imagery, Japanese, very young kids, very weird, all that kind of incel culture stuff. That was big during Gamergate. It's big during this. You know, mm-hmm. We had men pretending to be women.
Yeah. Yes, you know? We did.
And boy, do we have that now. So, like, what I'm saying is that what this was an internet class who thought, I can use this. I can use this to get ahead. I can use this to get some likes. I can use this to build a YouTube channel. That's what we've had for the last few years. So all I'm saying is that this perhaps, you know, even though, like, I do believe that misogyny is just the great source of nearly everything now, because I wouldn't have believed that a few years ago. But having seen this, I really believe it is the at the heart of a lot of things.
It's really at the root. You can see it. Men just siding with men, you know, against women.
But even with that said, I think the root of the current wars is the internet. I think the internet has, you know, it has just turned us into, you know, we're either being hunted or we're running with the hunt.
Yeah, we really have to address the entire generation of young people raised on the internet. We don't hear about that enough in the mainstream news. We don't hear journalists or we don't hear politicians talking about, you know, the influence of 4chan and Reddit. Even to talk about 4chan and Reddit, we act like these are trivial things that don't affect real life. They do. They're affecting the entire population, you know.
There was a documentary about 4chan, about QAnon, that revealed that the whole thing may have been a prank by 4chan, someone on 4chan.
And I feel like you could say the same thing about gender identity ideology. It's like it could have easily been a troll just making this up and then everybody falling for it, you know?
And I think one of the problems that we've got is that you've got all of us who didn't grow up with the internet, and we are now fighting a war with people who have. And honestly, you know, I don't know what it would have been like to have grown up with the internet. I suspect I could have been a completely different person. I think I've said many times, you know, I was definitely a tomboy. I was a massive tomboy at school. And I quite liked the sort of feeling quite cool that I was siding with the boys, you know, doing woodwork, etc. I suspect that there could have been very easily been me sort of, first of all, saying I'm non-binary, then possibly like a trans guy, and being furious and pushing back, you know, feeling righteous. It could well have been me. And I find it actually very difficult to put myself in the shoes of somebody who has completely grown up with the internet. And possibly it does have difficulty with the sort of critical thinking of deciding, you know, what is truth and what's lies. It's almost, I mean, is it even possible to tell? No, not really, often.
Well,
Oh,
listen.
so I know for sure that I would have identified as the transiest trans who ever trans. I was very extra when I was young. I had a real chip on my shoulder. I wanted to prove that I was sort of like, you know, I had a really rough childhood and I just wanted to prove myself to the world. So I would have jumped on trans, and I would have been the first person to go all the way for sex change surgery. You know, I would have been the person suing my mom. You know, I know that I would have gone all in on trans identity because it would have satisfied all of my needs as a distressed young person to prove that I, you know, had, you know, to prove that I had to validate my mental health distress by going to a doctor and modifying my body, to validate my homosexuality and my gender nonconformity by saying I'm actually really a woman. This would have just appealed to me in every possible way. You know, thank God it was the 90s, so I didn't identify as trans. I identified as goth instead. I went headlong into listening to the Smiths all day long instead of, you know.
Hey, listen, sorry to interrupt, Charlie, but Heather is here. We have our guest.
Excellent, excellent. So, we've got guests, yes.
Yes, so I should bring her. I do apologize, Artie, but, you know, heard it all before.
But we should come back to that. We should come back to that because because I wasn't actually, I mean, I know, sorry, just 1 minute. Sorry, Heather,
yeah.
just to get this out there. I wasn't aware that you think that you would have actually identified as trans.
I'm certain
you think that you would have.
The psychology of identifying as trans as a distressed teen, I can taste it. You know, I know this would have been me with such certainty. It frightens me and upsets me so much what's going on with these kids. Yeah.
I can understand that a lot more now then.
Yeah.
That, you know, you can really put yourself in those shoes.
100%.
Yeah, I think, and I can put myself in the shoes of a.
And I had dysphoria too. I was dysphoric as a young person, so yeah. You know,
and I can put my shoes I can put myself in the shoes of a young straight man who has basically a little compress a button and see every human sex act ever invented. You know what I mean? What is that going to do? I know when I was a teenager, I would not have moved from my chair.
We wouldn't have had Father Ted, would we?
No way. No way. You'd have had a kind of weird porny version of Father Ted. Listen,
but that's interesting. That's interesting too. But we should come back to this. And in fact, honestly, I'm almost sort of sorry to leave that one there. Leave that one hanging.
We don't want to think about a porno version of Father Ted. We really don't. Heather, I'm so sorry to bring you in at that particular moment. Hello, how are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. Happy Easter.
Happy Easter to you
Happy
too.
Easter. And it's lovely to see you. I've finished my tea. Lovely to see you. Lovely to see you. Again.
Heather, you are obviously, you're the founder of the Women's Rights Network, and you've recently been associated. I'm not sure, what is the position of the Women's Rights Network with the Respect My Sex campaign? What is your position with them?
Okay, I'll come on to that in a minute, but I'm going to give you some good news that I got this afternoon that you've probably missed because you've been setting up, but I got sent by one of my team that you'll know the story of the Family Sex Show. I had something on the site very recently. Hey, good news.
Has it?
No, it's cancelled because in recent days there's been unacceptable threat and abuse directed at both company and the venues hosting the production by a small minority. I
don't think that's why it's been cancelled.
Again, it's getting
I'm going to go out on a limb and say that I don't think that's the reason.
It's getting so you cannot take your clothes off in front of an audience of children without there being some sort of repercussions.
Go figure.
I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it.
So I thought you'd be pleased to know that, and any viewers haven't caught that up. So it's
just a very brief thing about that, Heather. May I say, right, that the people in the Family Sex Show, they may well be the most well-intentioned people in the world.
Absolutely.
And there may be nothing wrong with the show. But the thing is, we have safeguarding rules in schools and in places where these types of things are presented for a reason.
And we've been down this road before. In history, you do not introduce children to sex, even if you think you're doing it out of some sense of virtue. The people who are behind this often have ulterior motives, you know?
Well, listen, come back to safeguarding later. So, ask me about it later. But women's rights, so what was it? The Respect My Sex campaign. Yes. So there's 3 groups. The campaign itself is called Respect My Sex. That is not a separate group. That's the campaign, and you see the slogans everywhere, all over the place. The three groups that are running the campaign are Women Uniting, and they're a group of women members of the UK's political parties that are working inside the political parties. They're gender critical. They're against this ideology. So all parties have people. So say to your people, don't give up on the political parties. That is one of the things that has to be attacked. There's so many different front lines in this war that we're in. That is one of them. Now, so in political parties, not 100% of the people in those political parties believe in this ideology. So there are people that have stayed in, Rosie Duffield in Labour, for instance. There are plenty more that have stayed with the party, unlike me, who left the party I was a member of.
Which one was that? Which one was that, Heather?
That's not important, Graham.
Okay, fair enough.
So the Women Uniting are political women inside political parties that are trying to cut through this stuff. The second group is Sex Matters. I don't think I need to call them Sex Matters. It's Maya.
Helen's mug.
Yep.
Now the lovely, now the lovely Helen Joyce is Director of Advocacy at Sex Matters, so she's involved in it. It's Caroline Fisk is representing Women Uniting. So although Caroline Fisk is from one specific political party, she is representing them all under the Women Uniting banner. So there is, I think, this week or from now, we'll have more involvement from the Labour reps and hopefully the Lib Dem reps as well, getting their voices out and out. And then there's us, which is the Women's Rights Network. Now, the three of us, the campaign has been hugely successful. I mean, it's just beyond what we ever thought we would achieve.
Right.
Really.
Right.
Oh, fantastic.
You know, we'd be trending. We'd be accused of being bots again, you know, Russian bots. Trending, as we have successfully, the lovely women in the network have successfully done before. We didn't think we're never going to make a difference. We're never actually going to make a difference now, but we'll start getting the message out. And then by the time the general election comes, we'll have gained momentum, and that's when maybe we'll make a difference. Well,
Heather,
it's just been phenomenal.
It's been amazing. Hasn't it?
Wait. Sorry, are you saying you thought you wouldn't make a difference, but now you're realizing you did? Because it seems to me like the campaign has been unbelievable.
Genuinely, I think that Boris Johnson statement was on the back of this. You know, the timing was just too it was just too coincidental, wasn't it? He saw it. Because why wouldn't you? You were in the Mail for like days, which was superb. Everyone saw it.
Boris has made the statement. Keir Starmer appears to be rolling back. Jess Phillips appears to be softening her line, although not quite. There are saying that they got a message. Before I can't say, before I go any further, I want to say that the three of us are working on this Respect My Sex campaign, the three organisations, and the hundreds of women behind it, thousands of women behind it, are just doing a phenomenal job. But it's not new. We just happen to have hit, I think, timing as things were turning. And there are countless numbers of people and organisations that have come before that have fought down this battle. So in no way am I going to stand here and say, we made this happen. We just happen to be at the crest of that wave when
absolutely
the walls started coming down. So
as Jane Clare Jones would always say, pull. We've all been pulling for 6 years, and this
absolutely. So it's not that we have made a difference because we've suddenly hit the button that works. It's not.
But then again, you will be
everyone
in history. You'll be the one who hit the button.
But this is important around the world.
Can I just say Sharon Stone?
Sure. What, has she come on board?
That's who I want to play me in the film.
Oh, I see. Okay. Don't lower the camera, Heather. I don't know what you're wearing. But
this affects the whole planet. This isn't just in the United Kingdom. Canada needs to see what's going on.
Sorry.
Like everywhere around the world, what's happening in the UK is going to trigger dominoes around in other countries. So it's just so monumental, so momentous. And the Boris Johnson statement, I think, is particularly interesting because I can see people in their opposing parties suddenly seeing that he's got this open goal And then they're going to run. You know, I can see Keir Starmer going, oh, shit. It turns out women, I need
well,
them.
may I say,
and they obviously did. They did, because Jess Phillips, suddenly with her, sorry, Graham, just wanted to say, like that, I mean, it was, what do you mean? Of course women can't have a penis. And you're like, seriously? Like, fucking seriously? No. I mean, I'm glad she said it. Yeah. But it was the laughable sort of, oh, are you talking? This is ridiculous. Was really quite. I was like, you know, side eye.
We've got
but
there's a video somewhere. Was it a Mumsnet interview she had that was videoed when she first did the trans women or women claim, when you actually saw her capitulate to the movement?
Yeah, well, that was probably in the days where she didn't realize what she was giving away. I mean, you know, like, I think a lot of people have been through that journey a little bit, who've come from thinking that trans women or women was just a nice thing you say about transsexuals without realizing that you're supposed to say it about that Tory bloke, Jamie Wallace.
Oh yeah,
Graham. Most people still think that.
Yes, I know.
One of my beefs is I think we need to try and change the language. We've the ideology has changed the language, and they've tried to force us to use it. And to a degree, we have used it. We say trans women. Yes. I personally do not think the word woman should be used in any way.
No, I agree with you, man.
I agree. The only reason we use
male-born people with a penis. Male-born people with a penis. Let's go with that one.
Yeah, or trans-identified male.
Like. Yeah, trans-identified male.
But people don't understand that. People understand transsexual.
Yeah, I know.
So if you said to somebody transsexual, they know what you mean. And if you say to somebody transvestite or cross-dresser, they know what you mean. So
yeah. But they also do this thing, you see. It's not even that simple, because what they'll do is they'll say, well, the people who haven't fully transitioned, they're just waiting for an operation. And they use stories that people only dimly understand, like the waiting lists at the Tavistock, to sell this stuff. But there's some people...
it's not that they don't want to transition. It's that they're just so tragically can't get it done yet. It's like, no, they have no intention. Yeah.
I think you're right, but there is a difference in the method of communication. So on Twitter, yes. In the outside world, in the media, in the press, where the voting public are going to see it, no, they don't get to say that. Yeah. They hear translate. So that's kind of, and we don't need to, forget. We're not going to win the battle on Twitter. We're never going to win on Twitter, but it's a good practice ground.
I do think Twitter is an interesting place that we should all kind of keep an eye on, really, because, especially if Musk takes over, because like this whole thing has happened because of all these kind of thought terminating cliches were developed on Tumblr, but they were spread through Twitter.
Yeah.
Twitter is where all the blue check journalists started taking them up and started using phrases like biological essentialism. Do you know what I mean? That's the kind of posh one. That's the ones that the New York Times writers will use. But like, all these I think that Twitter could be a great platform. I think it's I mean, we have to remember that many of us met through Twitter, and we kind of formed these connections through Twitter.
Our whole network, Women's Rights, is based on Twitter. We now have 2,000 people on our mailing list from our website. The campaign is generated, people that want to join. We can't cope that we are all volunteers. We haven't a penny comes in the door. It's all voluntary, and it's just absolutely incredible what the women of the Women's Rights Network.
Well, I think, I mean, I'm a terrible optimist, and I just think the brilliant thing about all of this is that women will never let their guard down again.
Oh, never.
No. I mean, when you see how easily these rights could have been taken away, and how they have been taken away in places like Ireland and Canada, has Australia got self-ID yet?
I don't know. It's that close. It's not. I think they might be holding out against it, but it's not. It's not in a good way.
It's not. No, it's another one that's properly captured. But I just think that oh, sorry, what was I going to say? I did have a point there, but it's drifted away. I'm so sorry.
But what I wanted to say about the Women's Rights Network is that there's something really special about it. Is that we're putting women physically together. Women are meeting other people locally.
Yes.
And you know, there's real power in, well, let's say power in a union, but, you know, there's sort of 2 or 3 of you, you know, that's a committee. And you can get things done, and you can go places. You can go to libraries and schools, and you can talk. And you know, it's not just you. And you can, you know, that you can throw ideas around, and you can talk to others, and you can bring people in. And it's the most brilliant thing. Brilliant.
What's happened to just about every woman in the network was, I was just one of them. I was sitting, looking at Twitter, watching you guys, you know, argue all the week. You know, and so frustrated I couldn't do anything. There was just, I could send an email to somebody, I could, you know, donate to somebody's crowdfunder, but I couldn't do anything. I was getting really, really frustrated. And then this network came out. I'm not the founding member. I'm kind of one of
yeah, sorry, a founding member, I should say.
Founding member, yeah. And it came along. Now I just happened to be, I don't know, I'm a bit bossy, or, you know, who knows what, but I thought, what do we need to do now? All these women are starting to talk. How are we going to help them decide what to do next? So we started building resources to help them. And then this machine, that's a small machine, a cheap machine of the Women's Rights Network started. But women around the country chatting online, meeting up, as Helen said, meeting up, having a coffee, or, you know,
coffee.
Who knows, you know, coffee, yes. And running this, we've had a number of campaigns, the Christmas campaign, which was magnificent, and they just loved going out into the shops and putting our leaflets and everything, getting pictures of it, posting them online. It just, and this campaign is, it's just fabulous. There's so many pictures that are coming through, and you should follow us on Twitter if you're not already. There's some brilliant photographs coming through. Right. Wales were out yesterday with their things. There's beaches, there's ribbons going up everywhere. It's just phenomenal.
One of the things that I started off thinking, you know, oh, this is going to be fun. It's going to be fun to get a knock on the door and run down and give someone a piece of my mind about what's going on. But then I kind of realized through all the reports coming in that many of these people who are doorstepping for these political parties, they have no idea. They have no idea what's going on. What kind of stories have you been hearing back about people on the doorstep?
Well, first of all, my own story, in which happened about 1 month before the election, when a councillor came round to me, Lib Dems, and I said, well, no, because, you know, no, it was more than a month. It was just after the debate about the keeping prisons single sex, which was withdrawn. Blencathra withdrew in the House of Lords. I'm sure you'll remember that. I said, no, this is going on, and you know, you happily support men going into it. He said, oh no, I don't think so. I said, yeah. That wouldn't happen. I said, yes, here. Wow. And I gave him the stuff and went, so yes, the people that are on the ground, they don't, I mean, some of them do, obviously, but not all. Stories we've heard, there's a brilliant stuff, brilliant debates. A number of candidates are going against what a party line has been.
Right.
A number of candidates have just run away.
Right. Yes, of course.
So it's we know that briefing materials have been for candidates have been amended.
Okay, that's good.
To the questions. Now, I don't know whether that's across the country or just in specific areas that they've done that, but there's a bit more preparation put in. You know, you can expect these questions to come up from place to place.
Yes, I wonder if it's worth. I mean, people might now be so used to the "what is a woman" question that it might be worth coming at it from a different angle. I would like to ask. Politicians what trans means, because
I would like to ask that too, Graham. And I think that's a good question.
Yeah,
I've good question. If I get the opportunity, rather than saying, you know, I thought maybe this is it's a dream, but David Lammy has a radio show on a Saturday. And I thought, if Labour are beginning to turn, maybe he'd want to talk to somebody like me, and they could, he could convert live on air. That's not happening yet, but I'm hoping.
I doubt it will, and even if it does, he'll lie and said it didn't, because he did that to a woman.
Yeah, he doesn't want to talk to them dinosaurs.
Well, you know, we did a story. He held a woman's hand and said women's rights are safe in Labour's hands, something like that, while she was crying over this subject. And then he said it wasn't a doorstep issue. So I don't trust him as far as I can spin him.
I don't think. But my question to him would be, what is a trans woman?
Yeah. Yeah, I think we should start asking that.
We can ask some very specific questions, like, is Philip Bunce a rich 1%er banking executive, father of 2? Is that a woman? You know, is Eddie Izzard a woman? This is the world's most famous cross-dresser. You know.
Well, as Stella Creasy said to me, well, Graham, I don't think he identifies as a woman. But which wasn't the fucking question, Stella.
No.
The question was,
the point, isn't it?
is he a woman? Because you will never say no, whereas I would, because, you know, I'm not.
Whereas
there's a woman, depending on what film opportunity he gets.
Exactly.
Because if he's a male, he's going to get paid more.
As I always say, he's not meeting Spielberg dressed as a woman. I promise you that. He's not going he's not going into Spielberg's offices with a pink beret and some fucking, you know, flamingo lipstick. You know what I
mean? Women's rights facts. Here we are. So you talked about Philip Bunce party. In 2018, he was awarded a place on the list of top 100 women in business by the Financial Times.
Good for him.
The first woman.
Just kidding.
The first woman on the stock exchange, it was 1973.
Yeah.
I mean, it is so recent.
That's
what
not long ago at all.
Do they think they can play about with this? It's just utterly mind-blowing that women, we can't have something for ourselves. They've got to take it.
It's mind-blowing in so many ways. That 1973 is so recent, but also that people think that they're defending vulnerable gay and lesbian minorities who are so hard done by. This is a 1%er. This is a top-level banking executive who is just indulging in the luxury of cross-dressing in the office.
Yeah, this is just, of course it is. And it's ridiculous. But I wanted to say that I had a Labour chap on the doorstep.
All right.
And he was, I said, immediately that I had massive problems with the Labour Party. And I explained why, and he said, "Well, actually, I agree with you. I agree with you that
that's what I got. I got
that. I agree with you, and I will take it back. I mean, he tried to sort of hold me hostage and say, yeah, but you know, the main opponents to Labour here are the Tories, so you should be handing it into them. And I said, well, you know, honestly, I'd rather spoil my ballot. So you know, it's neutral, but I'm not going to be held hostage.
Well, you know what? I'm not going to spoil my ballot because
they won't say it. So
I'm going to vote for the
very good.
I'm going to vote for the party who will defend women's rights, and at the moment, that's the Conservatives. During the war, during the Second World War, you wouldn't be voting. You'd be voting for Churchill. You'd want Churchill to stay in power.
I want to make clear that it's local elections, mostly across the UK. Scotland local elections are slightly different because there's a whole set of different circumstances going on in Scotland. We mustn't forget, and local authorities have a different set of responsibilities. So things slightly different there. In Northern Ireland, it is not local elections; it's assembly elections. So it's very different there, and and it's very important. There are some places in Ireland that just do not have a rational, logical, sensible offering because there's no representation from the one party that backs women's rights. There's no representation across Northern Ireland. So it's
and Sinn Féin are absolutely Kool-Aid swallowing lunatics on this as well. Yeah.
So it's really tough there. There's some really bad.
I saw a woman saying that she would vote for the DUP. She said, I'm actually thinking of voting for the DUP. And anyone who put the word in front of I'm actually thinking of in front of voting for the DUP is a Catholic, you know? And you're in a stage now where you have Catholics who are going to vote for the main sectarian party, or at least they used to be. I'm not sure what they're like anymore, but the main sectarian party in the Northern Ireland because they're standing up for women's rights. And then you have these idiots saying, why are we talking about these unimportant issues? You have people who are willing to cross the floor over this. They don't get it. It's crazy, you know. Yeah. But they've been blinded so long. And you know, someone, may I read you something? It's just a very quick thing. If I can, I hope I didn't. Go on, you go ahead, and I'll tell you. I'll read this to you when I find it. No, I found it. Look, this is Matt Taibbi. He wrote about. He's been writing about the Elon Musk possibly buying Twitter, you know? And he says, the site used to be fun, funny, and a great tool for exchanging information. Now it feels like what the world would be if the 8 most vile people in Brooklyn were put in charge of all human life a giant hyper-pretentious thought Starbucks. My blue-checked friends in media work very, very hard to create this thriving intellectual paradise. So, of course, they're devastated to imagine that a single rich person could even try to walk in and upend the project. Couldn't Musk just leave the Twitter in the hands of responsible free speech protecting shareholders like Saudi Prince Alawid bin Talal? You know, and it's true that we've had a number of years now where, like, the big thing, I think the real reason that Elon, they're so frightened of Elon Musk coming in, is with any luck, it'll mean a lot of women suddenly get back onto the platform. A lot of women whose voices have been silenced. Yeah. You know, a lot of people who've been allowed to be smeared in their absence, like Posey Parker, Holly Lawford Smith, and Megan Murphy, and Miranda Yardley. You know,
it is awful what has happened to women. And I said when we did the launch in Victoria Gardens near Parliament Square, that one of the main reasons we're getting towards an achievement when women do not need to hide behind masks.
Yes.
Behind Twitter handles. It upsets me beyond belief that this is happening to women right now and they cannot speak out.
Yeah.
And that's why I do, because I was like, you know, I said they can't cancel me. I don't have a job to lose. I'm economically, you know, okay. And it's just beyond belief. Oh, there was something else I was going to tell you about. I'm sorry, because I know you're probably going to kick me off soon and start. But I don't know if you noticed from the Times today.
It is the longest I've had to put up with a woman speaking for a long time. Since my divorce.
Come on, Helen.
Yeah.
Go on, Heather.
So the Times today announced the big Jubilee read in advance of the Queen's Jubilee celebrations. So it's a list of books that they reckon you should be reading. Guess who's not on it?
J.K. Rowling.
Wait a second. Sorry, the Times did this list?
The Times Big Jubilee read, they call it.
Wow, that's interesting. Maybe it's just an oversight. How many books are in it? 2,000.
I think about 70 or something like that.
70, and J.K. Rowling's on there.
I remember. I didn't the thing.
I don't know. Is that necessarily? But is that necessarily, because the Times is pretty good on this stuff? Is that necessarily a thing, or maybe they just?
It depends who compiled the list, really, doesn't it?
Really.
You know,
well, I'll tell you what. If Sean fucking Fay is on there, then they can go fuck themselves.
I should think so. I've got so many more points to make, but I won't. I'll just keep that.
No, Heather, come on. It's okay. I'm all right. We're done in there. Let me ask one question before we wrap it up. But let's use it to try and get as much as you can into this, Heather. Like, Respect My Sex is going very well. What are your plans? What do we do next once all this stuff is on the ropes? How do we kind of follow it up?
What's the next thing?
How are you going to follow it up? What's next for the group?
I'm not going to tell you. It's a secret.
Oh, really? Oh, God. Okay. So that was actually a dead end.
We're going to be doing campaigns. We've got a Jubilee campaign to finish up. So that's Save Our Spaces. You'll love it. The merchandise is already for sale. Go and see it. All I'm going to say is Sex Pistols, never mind the bollocks. Think of that. Brilliant. Okay. You'll want to get the mug, Artie.
Oh my God. Okay, right. Good.
And then, and then after that, but immediately after this campaign, we're going to sit down and work out what we did wrong.
Yeah. And never let it happen again.
Because we did do things, we have done things wrong. How we can improve and start working on the general election, because we could get a general election without much notice. And so
I
we need to start working on that. So we need to get more. We're developing a non-Twitter. I'm not quite sure what the answer is. Twitter is good because the women that join the network have got security from Twitter, and so they can be private. And we've got a lot of women who are in very vulnerable positions and don't want it known outside. So we've got to integrate the non-Twitter people that have come through the website. Because, as Helen said, they want to talk, they want to meet locally and do things that's far more effective. And it's a huge relief having the comfort blanket of people that you can talk to.
And can I say, Heather, as well, that, like, you know, it's a shame it took this to do it, this unbelievable assault on women's rights to do it. But I really like the idea that there's a group of committed and, you know, energized women who are organizing.
Yeah.
And I hope, my biggest hope for the next decade is that you don't have to be fighting insulting, offensive battles like this one and put it to good use.
Yeah.
Well, as always,
no, I totally agree.
Very proud to be on your side, Heather. If you ever want to come on and talk about anything else, let us know.
Thanks, Graham. I will. Thanks so much for having me on. And what you have done and the years that you have put in has not gone unnoticed by, I think most of it. It's just been, you've been shouting, you've been, blowing the horn out there and doing that. And I know it's a huge personal cost, and I appreciate it because you're one of the people that's helped to get us to this place.
Oh, well, thank you. That's really kind of you. Thanks, Heather.
Thank you.
Thanks. I'll speak to you soon. Bye-bye.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye. Oh, that's lovely, isn't it?
That's very lovely.
Don't you start, Graham. You're going to set me up.
No, I know. We've done a relay race of the two biggest wimps. And
Christ, honestly, I'm the only one that never fucking cries on this show.
Fucking hard as nails Welsh woman, that's why. You've been fucking carved by the wind.
Both of you, just hysterical.
Hey, listen. There's a couple of things I want to briefly mention about the future, right? StreamYard is great. I use StreamYard, but I really, really want to start in growing the show. I was thinking, is the show getting stale and all this sort of stuff? But it's not so much that it's getting stale. It's very frustrating because I'd love to show videos. I'd love to show bits of the news. I'd love to kind of open it up that way. So I'm going to look into how to do that. I may move off StreamYard and move on to another service that makes that stuff kind of easier. But I think we've got more to talk about. I think it can be. I think sometimes the problem is we're filling up the air and trying to get somewhere. But if we have very solid things that we can talk about, might be good. So I'm going to look into that. And if the show
good idea.
Good. I'm glad you think so. If the show becomes a little bit more intermittent, just briefly, that's because we're trying to get all those ducks in a row. Dennis, by the way, can I just say, I'm so glad you've been kicked off Twitter because you're going to be so much more dangerous to them off than you are on. Dennis's letter to Twitter was a thing of beauty.
I wanted to say, well done, Dennis. You're taking them on, and I'm glad.
Good. And we will post it below. Anyway, lovely to see everybody. I enjoyed that hugely today. Thank you for doing it. Happy Easter to all. Have a lovely, peaceful time. Heather's on the move with her computer. It's quite hilarious. I'm getting a view of her whole house. I will. But yes, we will see you soon. Maybe this week, may not be, but we will let you know. All right.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Happy Easter, guys.
Happy Easter. Bye.